All right, important dates as we start here. We talked about the August 7th, August 13th is come and gone. That could have been the date of your first scrimmage. All right, and I'll define scrimmage. Scrimmage is essentially a practice with another team. You are just, there's no format involved. You could play singles, doubles. It doesn't have to be round robin. It could be as many matches as you want or as little as you want. So those are what scrimmages are. And there's no official score kept that is reported. It's essentially a practice with another team, playing matches out. And those, for your information, could be one of your first one or first two events of the season. Okay. Once you play a match, which you could have played starting August 14th, a match is where you play the listed format, which is we're back to the round robin. All right, now that we're back to a girls' season, it is round robin. So you have 1, 2, and 3 singles, 1, 2, and 3 doubles, and round robin. 1 will play 1, 2 will play 2, 3 will play 3, and then the rotations will happen. So that way there are 18 total sets in a match, and that'll be where you record the score. If it's 18-0, 17-1, so on to 9-9, with the scoring games, or the doubles tie break as well as the second tie break if you are tied in games as well. So that's your first match. Once you play a first match, scrimmages can no longer happen. Okay, so once you've recorded a score in UTR and played your first match, another team, you cannot go back and play a practice match. Everything else counts on your record, must be played out to the format with a round robin, and must be put into UTR. Okay? Doesn't mean that, say, if you started on August 20th, that could be a scrimmage. August 21st would be your first match. Same thing. It just has to be your first 1 or 2 events can be a scrimmage and then have to go into a match. Just wanted to clarify that. Before you play your first match, a recorded match, your rosters, as complete as they can be, need to be entered into UTR. Reason being is you can't record and complete your first match unless your rosters are complete to that point. You may have late walk-ons. You may have transfers that can't play till the later start date. So, but your roster needs to be as updated as possible. Anybody that's going to play in that match needs to be on your roster. Right? So make sure you have that on there. And that counts as varsity, JV, novice if you have one, freshman if you have that as well. Anybody that's involved in your program needs to be entered on your UTR site. Okay, and UTR site is all encompassing for the school. And like I said, it's varsity, JV, novice, however many levels you are or have, everybody needs to be put on and added to that site. Okay, and I'll get into more detail as we go into specific matches and your rosters here in a couple more slides. September 15th is the start of week number 5 of our season. All right, that is when we'll start putting out the team rankings. And notice now it's saying Power 9. If you were here for the co-ed last spring, it was Power 6, where we counted the top 6 verified rankings of boys and girls of your team. We're back, since it's now back to the round robin, back to the Power 9 rankings for the teams. And just to reiterate, Power 9 means the top 9 verified highest UTRs of each of your players. And I will show that to you once we get into the rosters there of what that looks like. All right. October 23rd is the last official day of the season. All right, and I'll get into, you'll see what's special about that date. So that is the last possible match. That's also the date of our seeding meeting, so I doubt anybody's going to play on the 23rd. Mostly the last match for everybody will be on October 22nd. Which
please don't play on that day.
Please don't play. It will affect your ranking, but that is the listed last day. But the reason being, October 18th to the 22nd, essentially the last 5 days of the season, or the regular season, are designated for your respective league individual tournaments. So if you're Western League, Frontier League, North County Coastal League, your individual championships should be scheduled during that week. Because now this falls inside of the regular season, your league individual tournament actually counts towards the eligibility of your players. All right. Now, speaking of that more specifically, every single player and every single team, there is a minimum requirement that every player needs to be a part of during the season, and that's 12. Okay, each player has to play against at least 12 different schools. Okay, it doesn't talk about the number of sets they play. They have to be involved in 12 distinct matches. All right, so if one day you play against Orange Glen, whether they play 1 set or 3 sets, that counts as 1 contact. The next day, you're going to play Rancho Bernardo. Whether they play 1, 2, or 3 sets, that still counts as one contact. So anytime your students play a dual match against another school, that is one contact. That is one case. The other case, in terms of the league tournament, I'm going to pause here after this. In terms of any tournaments like the league individual tournament, each match counts as one contact. So for example, if my number one player plays in the first round against La Jolla, wins that match, plays in the next round in the league tournament against Coronado, wins that match, plays the next match against somebody from Bishops, then gets to the final, that's 4 contacts, because they're playing 4 distinct matches in a tournament as an individual. So those each count as each match they play in a tournament counts as one. All right. I'm going to pause here for a second. I know we get questions there. Any questions on those distinctions, guys?
Yeah, just running that last thing about the tournament matches.
Mm-hmm.
The league individual tournament, that's after we've done CIF. So that's not going to help them qualify for CIF. So you're saying that there's a tournament earlier in the year, I'd account for 1 match apiece?
Yeah, actually, Mike, if you look at the dates, you can't see the dates right now, but I'll put it back up. That October 18th to the 22nd actually happens before the end of the season and actually happens before the team championships and individual championships. So it's scheduled before all the playoff stuff. That's why it can count now for your eligibility for your players.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
That's a
just
big
changed
change.
we just changed the order.
Yeah, change the order. So
okay.
it'll allow players now to gain more match play to meet that eligibility requirement. In past history, guys, we have seen the number of kids not meeting that minimum requirement exponentially explode. All right, too many kids are not meeting that requirement. This allows for more kids to meet that requirement by playing the league individual tournament and that happening. So that hopefully should cut down on the waiver requests. But also conversely, guys, not many of you do this. But remember, the maximum, which we haven't had to address in years past, the maximum's 24 for each player. So you got to make sure your players stay at that maximum of 24, stay under that. If a player for any reason goes over the 24, matches number 25 and higher must be forfeited. Okay, will not count towards their record. And in this case, if your player gets to match 20 to 25, more than likely, that's probably going to be in the league individual tournament. God forbid the finals. And if that 25th match is the finals, they're going to have to forfeit it and it will not count. So make sure your players stay under the 24 as well, which 99% of you will not have that issue. There are some coaches that do max out on their schedule because they play a bunch of tournaments, will play a bunch of matches. But those coaches, should be forewarned and loading their schedule because they usually play 2 or 3 matches a week on average. So those coaches have been told, and we'll take a look at it as well. But that's fair warning just to put out there for everybody to make sure that the minimum concerns everybody, but meeting that maximum, that's a possibility too, and just to be aware of it. Okay. With that said, the October 23rd, all your scores need to be in for that date, by that date. Scores for the league individual tournament, scores for all of your dual matches during the regular season need to be posted in UTR because that's where our seedings are going to come from, as well as our divisional placement. And that is new as well. We use that during the co-ed season. In years past, to give you a quick history, your division, if you're division 1, 2, or 3, in years past, has been determined on your previous year's playoff results. Okay, this past season with the spring co-ed for tennis, we actually based your divisional placement on your current season record and your UTR, your Power 9, which is going to be for this season. So divisions are not created until the end of the season now, which is new for us. That's why UTR, this is why we're doing the webinars. This is why it's important that everybody do their part to make sure their own UTR page is up to date and correct. Because first thing we're going to do at the seating meeting on October 23rd is set our divisions, open 1, 2, and 3. Next thing we're going to do the seedings, and then we'll obviously do the brackets for the team. We are also doing the individual seedings for the individual tournament that day as well. All right, so we'll have those in place. I'm going to put the screen back up to show you those dates.
Well, while you're doing that, I feel like I need to say this. For those of you who are new, The individual seating meeting all by itself used to take somewhere between 4 and 6 hours, depending on how the seating went. We're now down to, because of UTR and because of the accuracy of the rankings, we're able to do both the team seating meeting and the individual seating meeting at the same time. And I can't tell you, just from having done this for, I don't know, 25 or 26 years doing the CIF tournament, I can't tell you how much more accurate our rankings and indeed our tournament results have been because of UTR.
For sure. Thank you, Kevin. All right, just the rest of the dates on the calendar here. So obviously the seating meetings on the 23rd. We'll do the individual and team seatings there. The team tournament is going to begin on the 26th, that Tuesday following. All right, and that's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on the division you're in. Those will be the team championships. The individual championships will follow. The following week will be November 1st through 5th. And then those teams that qualify, which will be 2 teams from our section, that'll be the SoCal Regionals, November 19th and 20th. All right, so those are the dates of the tournament there, or our season, key dates for our season as well. A couple questions just to read off on the chat. As far as the designated way you rotate in a match, a regular season match, that's usually determined by the home coach. You can rotate either up, meaning number 3 will go up to number 2 and then go up to number 1, or down. Number 1 will go down to number 2, down to number 3, and you keep it uniform. If everybody goes up, one goes up, everybody goes up. If everybody goes down, same thing. All right, but usually the home team determines that when you do your rotations for your round robin. 4 matches at a league tournament, that's usually the maximum in the league tournament. That's usually a draw of 32. I don't think there are any other league tournaments that are bigger than a draw of 32. Some can be smaller, so it could be less matches. Some could be round robin where they only play a couple matches. So it just depends on what your league does for your individual tournament. But typically 4 matches would be the max. And then as far as scrimmages do not count towards your final team record because you do not enter them in UTR. Scrimmages, again, are just practices. So you could record the scores for your kids' sake and just know how they do, but nothing goes into UTR in terms of scrimmages. Okay. All right. Next.
Sorry, I had to elaborate just real quick. So I'm new, so just to confirm, I know the scrimmages don't count towards match record, but do they count towards that count of how many matches you can and cannot play?
No.
No, so they're
practices, so you wouldn't
okay
for anything.
Okay, all right, thank you.